Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Belchim What's New, and we're going to be discussing tougher on resistant herbicide-resistant weeds. My name is Troy Bettner. I'm the commercial director for Belchim Crop Protection. Over to my left over here is Dennis Long. He's the National Technical Service and Development Manager for Belchim. So we'll be both speaking today. We'll go through the presentation, and then afterwards there'll be some times for question and answer. So appreciate you all joining. We'll go ahead and go through it here, see if this works up. So prior to getting into tougher and resistant weeds, just want to set the stage a little bit about Belchim real quickly. Some of you may be familiar, some of you may not. So just to give you a quick overview of who Belchim Crop Protection is. So we are our 34th year of strategic growth, and to give you kind of a scope of where we are globally. So looking around the United States, or excuse me, the world there, we're active in the top 20 crop protection markets. Our global sales are in excess of $500 million. We have about 500 employees worldwide. Europe and North America are really our main centers of business, identified by the green color. That's where we do everything from the beginning all the way to the direct sales to the market. And then you can see in some of the other areas of the world, in the yellowish green, we have indirect sales where we work with partners. And then down in the red, we do development, regulatory work, and we work other avenues to get to the market that place. So around the globe, we take different methods to reach different parts of the globe. So, but that's really sums up Belchim globally right there. So our evolution of where we started, we talk about our history, but it comes in a few different phases. So when we first started in 1987, that phase one to about 2000, we were a distribution of R&D products. So our main partners for doing that was FMC and ISK. So that really started the pathway in Europe with those two distribution partners. Then we get to phase two, the 2000 to 2005, where we started expanding in Europe. That footprint really started growing there. We were operated in most of the EU. And then as we went into the 2005, 2015, we started now doing things with our partners, but by ourselves as well. We started getting our own product dossiers and started launching products throughout Europe. Then came the global expansion phase of phase four of 2015 to 2020, where we started really looking beyond Europe now and putting our footprint really in North America, between Canada predominantly, and then the United States is we're really getting started now in the United States. And then that brings us to where we are today, where we're delivering innovation and bringing biologicals to the market. We have our Japanese shareholders, and I'll talk about that real briefly in a minute, and just bringing more and more products to the marketplace and new innovations that growers need. So I'm just going to go fast forward through the transitions and just get to this point. So what happened back up, 2018, before our ownership really was, the green was around a family-owned business we're Belgium-based, so they were family in Belgium. And then we were owned 20% by ISK, then 10% by Mitsui Chemicals. Since that point in time, the way currently it resides is we're 62% held by Mitsui, and then another different branch holding company of Mitsui, there's 10, and then ISK still owns that 28% of us. So we have strong Japanese parents. That brings us that innovation, that pipeline of products. So quick overview on Belchim, who we are. Now let's talk about weeds and what we came into here, right? So one of the initiatives, objectives of Belchim is to really bring products come to the market to be able to control these issues that we have: Kosha, lambsquarter, with pigweed, Waterhemp, et cetera. It's becoming more and more of a problem. We hear about it from the universities, we hear about it in magazines, we hear it everywhere, even in growers' fields. And so one of the things we want to do is bring solutions to help growers fight these resistant weeds. So one of the initiatives with that, along with the products, is doing the research and bring market research to the forefront instead of just talking out of opinions, but let's talk at data. So we initiated studies through Farm Journal, a market research study, as well as took university data and started doing some mapping. So this is a collective map that shows the different weeds and where the resistance is around the Midwest by the counties. So it identifies it by weight on the right, but go to this slide. This breaks it down by the two different data sets that I was just talking about. So if you look to the left over there, that's the Farm Journal study, and to the right's the university data, highlighting where all the resistance is going on, and it obviously continues to grow. So anyway, so wanted to set the stage real quick of Belchim, who we are. One of our major initiatives is combating resistant weeds, and now I'm going to hand over to Dennis to talk about our newest product. Dennis?
Thank you, Troy. I'm Dennis Long, the National Tech Service and Development Manager for the, Belchim, and my team is responsible for placing all the trials with the universities, et cetera, so I'm very intimate with the data set, and I visit the trials through the year as well, so I'll be showing you data from those. We're not going to do a huge data dump, but it'll be easy to follow here. So, all right, we talked about how widespread the resistance to the weeds are, but let's go into a little bit more depth for some of the key weeds here on the, it's not going back, here we go. So on the left-hand side here, we can see there's 9 different groups. Well, the pigweeds and the palmer, waterhemp are resistant to 9 different groups of classes of chemistry, modes of action. So that's a big problem. Kosha, resistant to a number of them, lambsquarters, ragweed as well. So not only are they resistant, but they're resistant to a lot of different classes of chemistry. So we're going to talk about pyridate today. And what does it control? It controls some of these key weeds that we're having serious resistance problems to: palmer, waterhemp, kochia, lambsquarter, and black nightshade. So let's talk a little bit about one of the key things here is the HPPD class of chemistry has been such a valuable tool for us for a number of years now, right? So when the palmer and waterhemp started becoming resistant to the HPPDs, that's a big concern. And well, how serious is that resistance selection? And so what we have here is, this is work that was done by University of Illinois, and the y-axis is the hours it takes for to metabolize mesotrione, as representing the HPPD class in this study. And so we see that the green bar is the amount of time it takes to break down 50% of the compound that was applied, and the red bar is the amount of time it takes to break down 80% of what you applied, versus a susceptible population. So we see a susceptible population, it takes about 3.5 days to break down your HPPD, so it has a lot of time to elicit its activity on the weed. However, the resistant populations, it's only 24 hours. So if you go out there and you apply 8 o'clock one morning, and you go back the following morning, 80% of what you applied is already gone. So it has to elicit its activity very quickly. Now, in conjunction with that, now let's look at atrazine breakdown or metabolism in these HPPD-resistant waterhemp and pigweeds, because we often like to use them both together, right? So on the y-axis, we have the percent remaining, and then on the x-axis is the number of hours. So initially, we're starting off at 100%, okay? And then so over time, we see in the susceptible population, we've still got 80% at 10 or 12 hours of atrazine. However, this is how long it takes to break down 50% of the atrazine. It's only a little over 2 hours. Okay? How long does it take to get 80% of your atrazine broken down? 12 hours. Okay, so if you're applying mesotrione and atrazine, they have a very narrow window of time to get the job done in these HPPD-resistant weeds. So you've got to get both chemistries to the same target site as fast as you can. Okay, so what I want to talk to you a little bit about is the synergy that we see when combining pyridate with these different HPPD products. And so let's walk a little bit through some proof of that synergy. This is work at Purdue University on glyphosate-resistant palmer, and on the y-axis, we're going to have the percent control. You know, the x-axis, we have our treatment. So we got Roundup and Callisto. Hey, you know, we're getting into that 80% control. Simply putting tough, 8 ounces, we're up here in that close to 100% control. Okay. Now this trial here in this slide is very important. This is work conducted at Iowa State back a couple years ago on both an HPPD and a glyphosate-resistant water hemp population. And this is the bare ground trial, as you can see, a small plot work. And we have this is 19 days after application. So we've got a good, heavy population of water hemp we're testing. The plots treated with Callisto, full rate. We see that they're stunted, they're still there, and we all know what's going to happen. They're going to come back out of it and they're going to grow. So if we look at the second tier, here's our Roundup alone treatment, and we see like the same thing. They're glyphosate resistant, but they're stunted, but they're going to come out of it here before long. So here to the left-hand side is the plot that had, simply putting, tough with the Roundup and the Callisto. It's almost bare ground. I mean, we're over that 90-something% control. Clearly shows on an HPPD-resistant water hemp population, tough can help overcome that resistance to the HPPD. It's a very valuable class of chemistry, and we need to preserve it, right? Okay, so we talked about water hemp and palmer. Well, what about other weeds like ragweed? Well, this is work conducted at University of Missouri, simply looking at Roundup alone, putting Roundup plus Callisto, again, simply adding tough to the tank, that much higher level of control. Okay, so we talked about the meso platform. We're going to talk a little bit about what about some of the other HPPDs. So we moved on to evaluating topyrolate. Well, can we do the same with topyrolate? So this is Shield X at the full rate. Again, I'm going to have here in the bottom, I pointed out some key things here. This is going to be bare ground, but you notice some of them were 12 inches tall. Okay, that's not an ideal situation. That's not where we want to be, right? But sometimes we find ourselves in that situation, and this is where you can separate out the wheat from the chaff to tell, you know, if you're really bringing some value to the table. So what we see is that a Shield X by itself, simply putting tough 8 ounces to the tank, boom, we're way up there in control. And so this is what it looks like in the field. To the left, again, 7 days after application, Shield X by itself. And to the right, 14 days after application, we're seeing that they're really greening up and they're coming back. Now, you know, it's pretty difficult for Shield X to hit 5, 6, 8 inch, let alone 12 inch Palmer amaranth. But what happens when you simply add tough to it? It's cleared. Very rapid speed of kill, 7 days, and then more thorough by 14 days. Pictures say 1,000 words. Now we do have a little bit of green material here, but okay, 12 inches, we're not applying at the optimal time. But this shows you what Tough's bringing to the table. Okay, so Iowa State, glyphosate-resistant water hemp, kind of same situation here. Roundup plus Shield X, Roundup plus Tough, and then simply the combination. I think it speaks for itself. And this is what it looks like in the field, in the real world, you know, rather than just look at a bar chart. We've got a good heavy population with Roundup and Shield X. We got the 80% control. Here, the combination, pretty darn good level of control. And that's what we want to see in the field, right? Okay, same with the meso. What about controlling other weeds that we need to see if we can do that as well? And this clearly shows that simply the same combinations give much higher level of performance on common ragweed. Okay, so we've talked about meso, we've talked about topyrolate. Well, what about topramazone? Because, you know, they're not all the same, so we got to demonstrate that we can synergize that one as well. So here we're looking at, again, a little bit taller than we want, optimally 9 inches, impact at 1 ounce versus adding tough to the tank. And we see it jumped up the level of control over 90% as well. And this is kind of what it looks like in the field. Again, it speaks for itself. So just going over and looking at Iowa State for Waterhemp, again, impact at an ounce by itself at 7 days, and then to the right, impact plus tough, much higher level. Okay, so what about kochia? And we all know that kochia is a very difficult one to control, and so we started reaching out to Dr. Vipin Kumar at Nebraska and Kansas State to evaluate this for us. And so we see the impact at 3/4, adding tough to it, or ounce, adding tough to it. So again, we synergized and boosted the level of control. And this is what it looks like in the field. Okay, so that brings us to Tougher. That's the new product that we're talking about here today, correct? So Tougher is going to be a premixed product. So you're going to have the full combination of the 8 ounces of Tough 5EC, which would be 3/10 of a pound active, combined with the full rate of meso. So it's going to come formulated as an oil dispersion product. You're going to put it out at 1 pint per acre. And we've been testing it for years with the different universities, and it has a synergistic effects, and I'm going to show you a little bit of data on that. Okay, well, we have to sign up for this meeting 6 or 7 months in advance, and we were here today we're going to launch this product this year. Well, just like many of you registrants that are in the room, you got a phone call from EPA too. Your product is ready we should have had registration 3 weeks ago. And then they call us, well, there's nothing wrong with the registration packet. It's going to be registered, but we just need another 3 months. Okay, we're like, okay, great. Well, that's great. Well, we're about to plant corn. All right, so we're going to miss this season, darn it. And I've been talking with a number of you last night as well, and you're complaining as well. You're going to, some of your new products that you're trying to launch this year won't happen as well. So we're going to do a little bit of trying to demo testing a bit, but kind of steals my thunder here a little bit today. I came here ready to really launch something and have it for sale. But okay, so again, let's just go back and show you a little bit of data where we had the premix combination in the field test. So I want to show you and prove to you that, hey, the premix works. You know how you guys are. You can show me the data. So this is the same situation here on the bottom left. We got some 12 inchers out there again. Not where we want to be. So meso on the left at 7 days and meso on the right at 14. It hit them, but they're coming back. So what happens when you put meso plus pyridate or tough 5EC, 8 ounces? Okay, we see that very good level of control. Now, this is the tougher formulation that were in the trials. And we see the same good level of performance with this combination. Got a couple little big ones here, but hey, when you're hitting 12 inches, that's not bad. So let's just look at a little bit of data here to prove it, the performance. So here to the left-hand side is Callisto and Tough, the tank mix, if you will. And then the right-hand side is the premix product, Tougher. Higher level of, well, a little bit higher, but we're just going to be calling it at least equivalent control. That's the big thing we need. What about, let's jump over the river, go a little west into Arkansas, Tom Barber. Same scenario. It's equivalent to if the grower is just putting it in the tank mix. So, okay, I'm going to stop doing a data dump here on you, and this is the last data slide. So this is just a summary of 6 trials that we did this year on Palmer amaranth. Across 5 different states, and average them all together, the formulation is equivalent. Okay, and so we have data for the other weed species as well, but we don't have time to be discussing all that today. So with that, we're now ready to take all of your questions. We've got plenty of time, And if you're shy and if you think of something a little bit later on, you can always drop by our booth from 3:30 to 4:30 and 53-110 for free cocktails and beer. And I'll be there, and Troy will be there, and we can answer all your questions. Are there any questions? Yes. I might be able to hear you. The question was, what's the price to the grower? Well, there's two ways to answer that. One, the tough IBC? Okay. Well, you know how it works with, we're not supposed to be setting the price distribution, and your retailer will set that. So I would recommend that, you need to talk to them about that. Yeah, I apologize. And I'm an R&D guy, and anytime I start talking prices, my sales reps cringe. So I got to be careful. I couldn't hear the question. A rough estimate? Well, that's a good way to try to hone me down here. Okay, I better not get political here. I'm not in the White House, but it's probably from $11 to $12.50 an acre, something like that. But now, okay, I don't know what's going on out there. Let me answer a question that you might be having right now. What's the supply? What's your supply? Okay, we have plenty of supply in the United States. It's here in the United States right now. It's in our warehouses, and there's a fair amount out there in the channel right now. So, if you're looking to substitute tough for some of your other products, don't worry, we've got your back, and it's here in the United States right now. Yes.
I missed the first part of it. How tall can your corn get, or
The question is, how tall can the corn be at application time? That is an excellent question, because you're limited with atrazine, right? Because you can only go up to V5 or 12 inches. Pyridate, tough IBC can go up to the 8-leaf stage. And so I received numerous phone calls last year, because especially in that Kansas area, because they were running late in the season, and then the weeds started to pop up. Like Kosha. Kosha likes to pop up a little later, and they say, okay, we can't use atrazine anymore. Can we use tough? I'm like, heck yeah. And it performs very well. So excellent question. Do you have another one? That's great.
You will.
Yeah.
And I anticipate you're going to come by the booth. I need to buy you a beer.
I did have another one. Can't think of it.
But anybody else got a question there? Okay, I need to read some house cleaning things here. Please be sure to fill out the evaluation forms that the lady Irma out there gave you, and return them at the end of the session. If you prefer to fill out the short 3-question survey online, there is a signage in the hall for a QR code. And to access the online survey, watch for an email after the show with instructions on how to access the recording of this session. So yes, we're being recorded, and we're going to be sharing it to the broader audience. And that's all. That's all I have. And I'm getting okay.
Do you have any residual to the soil like meso does?
The question is, does tough IVC or pyridate have soil residual like meso? The answer is no. And so that can be a good thing, or it could be a bad thing. I mean, okay, we want soil residual, but we don't want the carryover problems either. So there is no carryover, and there is no soil residual. So you've got to control what's up. It's a post-emergent product only. And so it's kind of good too if you want to use it in pre-plant burn down, and that'll help if going into some certain crops. So
Last question. So what kind of safener do you have in this product? Like Lotus has like a really safe safener, where meso really, generic Costo is kind of iffy.
the question is, do we have a safener in tough IBC? No, the safener is not necessary for this class of chemistry. It's not necessary. You're not gonna injure the crop It's tough. It's been tested. It's very safe on seed corn, field corn. We've even done popcorn, yellow and white. So it's very safe. No worries. Okay, I think time is up. Thank you for attending, everyone.
Thank you.
And like I said, join us for drinks.